All right, guys, welcome back to another GYLS Momentum session. Happy Easter all over the world. And if you're tuning in live and you took part of your Easter to come hang out, good for you. That's awesome. This week we have Lucas Bigdady, one of the raddest dudes at GYLS for sure. He was an alumni last year, already applied to youth leader pretty much the day it opened, and he's going to help us with communication today. So without further ado, here he is. Lucas, take it away, dude.
What's up, guys? So happy to be back. GYLS, talking about it just gets me excited. I want to thank you, Sergio, for introducing me. And I got a big thing on communication. So I have a question. I want to know what you guys think communication is. If you can, give me an answer. Let's see, like, a
All right,
definition.
guys, welcome back to another GYLS Momentum
And,
section. Happy
one
Easter
sec.
all over the world. And if you're tuning,
All right, there it is.
yeah,
All right,
you.
yeah, but if you can give me,
Nice, Lucas. Watch
uh,
yourself on YouTube.
yeah, I guess
All
so.
right.
The hair looks good. But anyway, if you guys can give me your definition of what you
All
think
right, guys,
communication
welcome
is.
back to another GYLS
Ah,
Momentum section.
what's going on here? All right, there
Just
it is.
close, just close that.
Yeah,
You don't need that open.
I
It's
can.
all
All right.
good.
Are any answers coming in?
Let me check. There's also a lag when we're live of like up to a minute, so just keep going, and when we get some answers, I'll let you know.
All right, perfect. So my definition of communication, there's three. First one is the act or process of communicating, fact of being communicated. That's the first definition. Second definition is the imparting or interchange of thoughts, opinions, or information by speech, writing, or sign. Now my favorite definition is the easiest definition, a way of conveying information. I think the most effective ways to convey information while speaking is you have to have good body language. I think words and tone. But now this is the interesting part. 55%. 55% of how you speak and how you talk is throughout body language. If you're not moving, you're not moving with purpose. And I'm not saying you have to do all this stuff. You just got to move around and move with the conversation. Move with purpose. So I think that's very interesting. The second thing is tone, which tone's 38% of conversation. That means that 7% is only actually speaking your words. So once you get your words across, if you're able to use your hands in different ways of dialect, tone, modulation, all that stuff, then you'll be more effective when telling a story or getting any kind of communication across. I mean, conveying a message really isn't that easy, and when you have good clarity and things like that, it should be more fluent and people will, understand and really connect with you, and that's a big thing, especially in GYLS and the future people coming in GYLS. Um, there are multiple types of communication. I think we should start with verbal communication. Verbal communication can be written or spoken, but well, let's talk about written first. It can be written with like things, email, text, a letter, things such like that. But written communication is interesting because you have more time to develop what you're thinking or what you're trying to convey. So I mean, as GLS, we do like to stand out. So the one thing you got to do is get an impressive header. You got to get something that's going to get people to, listen to you. I think the attention getter, for example, if you've ever gone to school, I'm sure you know what that is. I'm hoping you know what that is. Hope your teachers did a good job of explaining that to you. But you got to get their attention. So once you figure out how to get their attention and have that level of creativity, you got to make sure you come back onto the path so you understand what you're trying to convey to the audience. Um, Written communication is so vital, and I think it's very important when you're doing long distance as well for relationships or different things like that. So I think being able to send like a heartfelt message or some kind of like way of communicating how you feel or just letting the person know you miss them, you want to see them. I mean, I just think that goes the extra step. And when wanting to stand out in communication, I think it's those extra steps that get you noticed or make you appear more and more as that amazing person that you really are. So I think that's very important. Um, I mean, one problem though for texting, or one challenge, is I usually get a huge bump on my head because if I'm texting too much, I'll probably run into a pole, which is really frustrating. So be careful what you're doing. For example, my friend yesterday ran into the garage, which I didn't think was possible, and now they have this huge little bump on their head. And it looks kind of funny, but I don't say anything. So if you ask, they still look good. I think you got to be careful with that stuff. So don't be too obsessive. Spoken communication. Spoken communication is without a doubt one of the hardest ways to communicate for some people, and it is not easy. It takes practice. One thing we learn about is practice makes permanent, and that's something you just got to keep going on and on about. Practice is very, very important when trying to be perfect. I mean, there's no such thing as perfect. So what it is, it's just allowing you to be permanent with how you're able to speak and communicate with people. But well, yeah, here are examples of how you can talk with words. You can give like maybe a speech, Skype, some kind of way of just communicating face to face. Um, I think if you're able to send a text, that's important. But I think it takes that extra step if you're ever to make a phone call to someone, long distance or something like that. Just because hearing their voice means that much more, and it's just important to know that the other person like just they want you to know, they want you to pay attention, they want you to care, stuff like that. So that just is the extra step that you should definitely go and try to do. Um, there are different techniques of how to manipulate and stress important things that you want to say or explain. Um, these have to do with certain things like voice modulation, pitch, clarity, I mean, tone, all that stuff. But I think the most important one is tone because tone takes a variety of those different skills and puts them into one category. Because this really changes how we speak. Um, I think it's important because when we're little kids, we can all relate to this. We loved hearing stories. We loved hearing bedtime stories. So many stories. My favorite story was the Three Little Pigs classic. I don't know why. I just thought that was a great story. So I always told my mom and dad, Mom, Dad, you have to do different voices for everyone. So the first pig would be like, hey man, how you doing? Then the second pig, whatever, you change the voice, make it a little higher, like, hey dude, how you doing? And then you gotta go, you switch it up a bit, whatever. But why can we do that while we speak, while our parents tell us a story? But the moment we're trying to have a conversation with other people, we suddenly stop doing those voices or really communicating effectively. I mean, I can tell you that story in and out, like perfectly. But if someone were to give me a speech and really try to explain it to me, I'd have to take time and really understand what they're trying to say. So different things, like different voices, things like that are very important. And I think what's very important too is just knowing how fast or slow you're speaking and making sure that you're not trying to insult anyone by speaking too slow. But also, if you're speaking too fast, understand that I think this is a huge misconception. I mean, I think there's a level of speaking too fast where it's just like you need to slow down, but you really don't. As long as you take big enough pauses for the brain and the person you're communicating to really listen and really try to understand what you're trying to say, as long as you give them enough time to process what you're saying, then that just goes the extra step of how you're trying to communicate to them. But the thing is, how do we know if we're pausing too long and stuff like that? Now you don't want to be speaking and conveying some way and just start pausing for moments. Like you don't want to be there for 5 minutes not saying any words. Then it's, I mean, not a little awkward. It's very awkward. So that's why I think it's funny how some I mean, like for example, people used to tell me I would talk fast, and when I found out about this technique, I'd say something and just not say anything for a few minutes, and I just like it's just you can't do that. Then it looks like you completely just either blank out, maybe you need like some form of ADHD medication. I don't know what it is, but you're gonna need something. But don't do that. Please don't do that. So also, all right, speaking loudly and clearly. Also take that extra step when trying to convey a message. Loudly, you want people to hear you, obviously. I mean, you don't want to be talking so loud that people can't hear you. You got to be talking loud enough so people can hear you. That's one of the most important things. But then you have to be able to talk. You have to be able to have the perfect speed with the amount of loudness, I guess, you want to talk. I think another thing is people don't really know is whispering is actually 10 times more effective than talking loudly. Obviously, you want to talk loud enough. You don't want to be whispering like I was where you can't hear. But what it does is it communicates to the brain that I really need to open my ears. I really need to try and listen. I mean, it's kind of funny. We do have two ears and one mouth, and it's harder for us to close our mouths than it is to listen with both of our ears. That's all I'm trying to say. Um, the thing is, you can pay attention to body language, how they respond to how you speak. So if you're speaking too loudly and they're not looking at you and giving that attention, maybe you should speak softer so that they can really listen and indulge what you're trying to say. I think giving the audience a chance to catch up while you're speaking is very important. So it all has to do with timing and certain things like that. And yes, it does take practice. This is not something you will learn overnight. I don't even know how to do it perfectly yet. That is something that's going to happen. It's just something that goes, it'll come naturally once you really understand it. But also, one of the biggest things is when we're trying to speak or tell a story or somehow communicate things to other people, for some reason we belittle ourselves. Why would we do that? Why do we put this sudden pressure on ourselves where we can't be who we are when we're trying to speak or convey a message? I mean, you're trying to speak to someone and you're not giving them that you want to be there, that you want to listen to what they're having to say. I mean, why would you be telling someone, yeah, please tell your story, and you're on your phone or something like that, and you're not really paying attention? That's not cool. That's not something, they're not there for you to text right in front of their face. They're not there for any of that. So why put that pressure on yourself when they're not even listening? So that's why when they're listening, no reason to put pressure. You need to understand that it's a barrier you just got to break, 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 break. You got to get through that barrier because that is something that really does hinder and stop some level of communication and connection. And the biggest part is you want to have a great level of communication and connection. Now, I already told you the most important thing in communication is body language. And this is something you really have to understand. And I'll bear with me. It's awkward because where do you put your hands? I mean maybe I look a little crazy doing this, but it's some way of letting you know I'm emphasizing what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to show you more than just speaking words. Because we are visual, most people in society are visual learners. So if I'm just speaking like this and not moving, what gives you, why would you even listen to me? I'm not giving you any, I'm not telling you to listen to me. I mean, body language is also like if I'm paying attention to you, I probably should be looking at the screen or looking at you, right? But that also has to go with presence, and we all know Sergio loves presence, loves talking about presence. But let's finish with some body language first. Honestly, body language is like the Kentucky's basketball team. It's their bench because all it is reinforcements of how you speak. Honestly, there's no such thing as substitutes. It's probably the strongest part of their team, which is pretty scary. So if that's the strongest part of your team, don't you think it's effective to use your hands and move with purpose? I would say so. Honestly, if you're telling a story or giving some sort of insight of what's going on in the story, like if you're saying let's zoom in on this or something like that, you want to put you gotta like show them what you mean. It's so much, it's going the extra step, and I love going the extra step, guys. I've said that multiple times already. You just gotta move the extra step and explain what you're trying to speak or convey. Communication is tough though because it really is a challenge being able to communicate well to people because we don't know if we're saying the things that want to be heard or stuff like that. So that's why you have to ask yourself questions before really trying to speak or give a message. So for example, what I did before I got into the momentum session, I said, who's my audience? GYLS, leaders of tomorrow. What am I trying to explain to them? How communication can bring them that next level up in their lives, like what they can do to become better communicators. All I'm trying to do is enhance and show you how to hone your skills of how to communicate. And moving your hands, speaking with passion, purpose, is what you need to do when communicating. I also wanted to know what your interpretation of communication was, because my original definition of communication was just being able to speak to someone. That's not what communication is. That's my idea, which finally was able to be modified into something 10 times more brilliant. Because anyone can speak, but not everyone can communicate. And I think that's the difference when communication. But now for my favorite part, and Sergio's favorite part, presence. I like to talk about presence, like give you my own interpretation, because presence is something that really is a present. I mean, I think it's funny how it is called presence, because I feel like I'm getting a present when explaining this or when I found this out. But also I think it's ironic that it says presence, because it's like living in the now. It's like talking about this time. It's being in the moment. And I think that's something that a lot of people have challenge with, is really living in the moment. It's not thinking about the future. It's not thinking about the past. It's being and living in that moment with that one person or people that you're trying to connect with. And that's a big deal. Now, I love how much they stress eye contact in presence, because that is one of the most awkward things I think we can do. Alumni, for you know what I'm talking about. We had to stare at each other's eyes for a whole minute, not saying one word. And I just remember looking and saying, should I look at the right eye, left eye? Do I look up? No, I can't look up. I'm a little nervous, you know? So that's why I think they stress eye contact, because even though I only did look at her eyes for a minute and didn't say one word, I legitimately say I could connect with her 10 times more than I did than just talking to someone that I'm not really connecting with. I think it just goes that extra step. So I'm telling you, I don't care if LeBron James walks by, a pretty girl, an explosion. You keep your eyes on that person. You never let that go. You do not ever take your eyes off of them. I think that definitely the two ears is very important, because just listening is a very vital component to communication. I think that's that's a huge challenge for some people, is to listen. But it's something that once you learn and understand to do, it will really allow you as a person to have a deeper connection and just take that extra step. I mean, listening is hard. That is a challenge. I mean, my parents always telling me to do stuff. You tune them out, eventually you start realizing you're tuning out the entire society. And you can't do that. You gotta listen. So I think that's really interesting. Sorry about that. And there's also different. There's just different ways of communication as well when it comes to presence. And I think one thing that's really cool is using effective vocabulary. I think certain words like will you do this with me, is so much better than saying can you do this with me. I mean, if I was asking out a girl, for example, whew, a little nervous already just thinking about it. I would say, I would never say, can you go out with me tonight? I would say, will you go out with me tonight? Not only does that establish more confidence, but that lets you know that I really want to take you out tonight. What are you doing? And certain words like discover the possibilities, discover what could happen. I mean, that's almost like saying, that's like taking someone on an adventure just with a word. How is that even possible? Then you have different words like experience this with me. Don't say go to GYLS with me. Experience GYLS with me. That takes it to a whole new level. I mean, you're telling the person, don't just go to GYLS, experience with me. And it's just being able to persuade and be more fluent when you're speaking to someone. I think my favorite word, though, out of everyone, and I really think you guys should take this to heart, is the word commitment. Commitment. Sergio, what am I saying? Commitment, right?
You got to be committed, yeah.
All right, commitment's my favorite word because when you tell someone you're committed, you're there. You're doing what they're saying. You're there to listen up and commit. When I was told I'm doing this April 4th momentum session, I told Sergio I'm committed. And that's what I'm doing now. That is something you have to do. Once you're able to commit to yourself something, you will be able to commit to other people. It's almost like establishing respect. Once you be able to respect yourself, you can respect other people. Just the way, same thing with commitment. When you tell someone you commit something, you got to do it. And that word is so powerful. Like if you're saying, will you commit to doing, well, like, for example, prom. I told the person I was going to prom with, will you commit to me to go to prom? They said yes. Last year I asked the same person, I swear. I said, will you go to prom with me? I'm not kidding. They didn't even know how to respond. And I don't know if my hair was messed up, maybe I ran into a pole that day after texting too much, but whatever it is, regardless, commitment's just that strong of a word. Now I'm not saying she said yes just because I said commitment, but what it did was it allowed her brain to realize I gotta say yes or no, I gotta give a direct answer right now. And once I do, I have to commit to him. I'm committing to go to this event with him. And that's what it is. It's about, I mean, that's just my favorite word, and I really hope you all take that to heart. Sergio, if anyone responded, love to hear what they have to say.
Oh, wait, there's a party going on in the Facebook group.
Party, I love parties. That's fun.
Yeah, I'm going to actually go backwards because what Rachel just said is awesome. She said, yes, I love how you're getting into the power of an expansive vocabulary. Leaders, this is really important. Josh was like, Lucas, dude, me, Bella, and Steph are just sitting here gazing in love at the TV screen. They have you like on their TV.
On the TV, wow.
Yeah, man. A couple people answered what communication was way back when you answered, or way back when you asked. Emily said, communication is the sharing of ideas and personal opinions with another, can be done verbally and through body language. And then she also added after, well said, Lucas, everyone can speak, but not everyone can communicate.
I love it.
Yeah, and then Rachel's got, she's a little bit behind, but her definition of communication is sharing ideas, feelings, messages, opinions through this vessel. So movement, language, tonality, vocabulary, etc. All different layers of effective communication.
Wow, very powerful.
Yeah.
I love all those definitions. So you all should have your own interpretation of what communication is, because once you really understand communication, it takes your life to the next level. I think Sergio likes to make fun of me when I won most social, which kind of is he thinks it's kind of funny for me, but that's whatever.
No, that's awesome, dude.
Hey,
I
don't
love
think
that picture. It was so perfect.
phone and everything. Oh my goodness. But I was told I asked like people like why would you vote for me to be most whatever, and I realized that it wasn't because I'm that guy that's gonna go up to everyone and try to like meet them or whatever. But what I did was I just let people know like how are you? I got to see what's going on in people's lives. Just establishing a connection with them that I let them know you can trust me. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to be in a situation where if you need me, I'm here to go to. But I also went to different people and just communication so much more than just speaking to. Just a simple smile or wave brings out the best in people. I mean, there would be some people that don't get spoken to at all at school, and that literally breaks my heart. I can't deal with that. So I literally will go out of my way to say, hey, how are you? What are you doing today? Like, what's going on in your life? What's happening? But obviously, you can't just start doing that, especially if they're not able to communicate back. So you have to get on their level first, establish some sort of conversation where they can say, yes, like just say hi, simple hi, what class are you in, something like that. You just have to get to their level first before you really start connecting with them. And then if you use those tips and certain things, that can just bring such a big smile out in someone's day. And come on, we all look so much better when we smile. I mean, Sergio has a beautiful smile. I try to have a beautiful smile. It's just some of those things. So I think it's really cool that I have all these leaders listening to me right now because they decided to open up their ears and pay attention to something really important to me even. This is something that I take to heart because I know that each one of you is going to be something very special in the future. And the people that don't even know what GYLS is or any organization like this, when they see this video or able to learn how to communicate, I just know it'll bring their level of in their life just that much higher. And also, communication is something that helps in business world and just like when you're getting a job and stuff. You can have the best grades, you can have all the numbers and whatever. But if you can't talk to someone, how do you expect to move forward with that? I think it's very important to know that when you're able to connect with your boss or something like that, it moves you to the next step. And that's something that you can learn how to do. I think being able to be persuasive and really show an impactful story is very important. And that is something that you learn over time. I'm telling you guys, just be patient. This will all come to you. Presence is going to come to you. I mean, there's just so much beautiful things out of communication, and I know that each and every one of you is going to learn how to do it and really communicate. And I like all your definitions, by the way. Those were beautiful, Rachel. You always give a great definition of everything. Um, I love how I'm on TV, by the way. That's really cool to me. I've never really been on TV except for my parents took little videos, and that's when I could barely communicate. All I would do is walk around, whatever. But I think that's really cool. Honestly, I don't have any much more to add, but if you guys have any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer them. And just fire away.
Yeah, before they even go off, because as soon as they hear that, they're going to start firing away.
Uh,
Whole bunch of comments from pretty much everyone. Rachel, you do
well,
have a beautiful smile. Ariana, you can't try to have a beautiful smile, man. You have a beautiful smile. Emily,
she
oh,
always does
stop.
that.
You
She
have a
loves
wonderful
doing that to
smile.
me.
Josh, so beautiful with all kinds of hard eyes. They got you.
I miss my friends. I miss my brothers and sisters.
Yeah, man. So, in terms of questions, they're still probably listening, and so they're coming up with theirs, but we're going to have a couple for sure. I've got one for you. In terms of um, what it takes to be a good communicator, because you're a really good communicator on both levels, a speaker and a listener. Some people are really good speakers, other people are really good listeners, but how do you balance if you're really good at one to learn how to be really good at the other one? um, I would say I would ask to explain more on how to become a better listener, because a lot of people at GYLS are all really good speakers. They're all really good both, but to
Mm.
be a really good listener, yeah, it takes presence. But what would you say, like, how can you balance out if you're better at one, how to equal out and become good at both? Because that's what's going to make you an overall better communicator, right?
Yeah. I think one thing in conversation is we all feel it's that we all feel that we have to speak when we're in a conversation or something like that. So our biggest challenge is we want to talk as much as possible. We think that we need to talk when we're talking to someone. But if you ask questions and you're able to engage in what someone has to say, it helps balance it out because I honestly think that unless you're trying to explain something to someone, listening is very, I mean, I think it's almost, you need to be able to listen more than you do to communicate. Because listening really is communicating. I mean, it's letting the person know you're there, you're present, you're there to listen what they have to say. And almost just nodding your head, giving them some sort of body language that you are there, you're present, you're in the moment, allows you to open up and listen to what they have to say. But for balance, we all love to talk. We all think that we can talk and whatsoever. But it's not all about talking, and that's why I think you guys need to understand listening is just as important as communicating, because communication is listening, so you don't always have to speak. So I think that's how you balance it. You say something that you think's important, but then you immediately go back to listening and really giving that person all the attention you can give.
Yeah. So we just got three questions uh,
Cool.
in that time, but I just want to expand on that just a tiny little bit.
Mhm.
Um, I think that in order to balance it, make like realizing that there's value both in what the other person is saying and in what you're saying. If you're a good listener, you obviously know that whoever you're listening to has value and you're making them feel important, right? But you have to also realize what you have to say is equally important and equally valuable,
Mhm.
and that can make you a better speaker. If you're a better speaker and you need to become a better listener, yeah, what you're saying has value, but again, you need to realize that what the other person is saying equally has value and is important. So just coming to terms with the fact that both what you have to say and what you have to listen to are more or less equal in value. Okay, so
I
we have
agree.
we have three questions, and Rachel just dropped a quote on us. Rachel, one of my favorite listening quotes goes something like, "When you talk, you learn nothing. When you listen, you are open to learn everything." Ooh, that's awesome.
Wow.
I have a pretty good quote actually before because there's so many questions, but I think it goes something like, "Speak in a way that others want to listen to you, and listen in a way that others want to speak to you." Something like that. Maybe I'll try and find the actual quote. It's something along those lines. Okay, so oh my God, these questions are rolling in faster than I can read them. I think I just made that up actually, says Rachel about her quote. Words of wisdom from Rachel. Okay, first question goes, let's, I'm going to read all three. Well, no, okay, we'll go one at a time. So, Rachel says, talk for a minute about language barriers, ideas on how to communicate effectively when you have no means of translation. That's pretty awesome, like, because Rachel lived in Australia for a year, and although it is English, their slang can be pretty heavy to
Understand.
actually get through, right? But it is English. If you're traveling to like a different part of the world where you don't speak anything other than like hello and whatever, like how can you communicate? How can you communicate with the people there when you don't speak their language?
All right. Well, I'm going to Europe over summer, so this is something that I need to really understand too, Rachel. So I don't blame you. But I mean, I did say 55% of how you speak is with body language, and I think if you have an effective body language with how you speak, people will naturally understand what you're saying. I think certain words in what you're saying are very important too, just because when you're trying to break a barrier of speaking, it's not easy, especially when the person has no idea what you're trying to say. So that's why I really stress clarity when speaking to someone like that, or someone that you're struggling to communicate with. So let's say I need you to pick up a pen or something. You can't expect someone with a heavy accent, language whatsoever, like whatever, to just pick up the pen by saying that. You have to use your hands, motions to show them where it is, what to do when they get it, bring it to me. And I think that's another thing with practice is practicing how to practice practice. I could say I felt like Allen Iverson in that video, but I mean practice how to how to make how to get the pen like with your not only words but with your actions and stuff like that, because we all know the saying actions speak louder than words. And I'm really happy that I talked about the different words that mean more than other words, because if there is a language barrier, some people will understand words like will or commit and stuff like that, and that shows them that you really need something or you really need them to do whatever action you're asking them to do. But the thing I can stress is make sure you have good body language when trying to communicate with someone with barriers. So, and also that's something you got to break by, because that's once you connect with them, it's also easier to understand how to communicate with them. So that's pretty cool. And I guess you're going to say, how do you connect with someone you can barely communicate with? I'm telling you, just look at them. Just give them your presence. You don't even have to say anything, guys. Just listen up and look at them. Let them know that you're there to listen and pay attention so that you can establish that connection and teach you how to break past those barriers. I think that's what you got to do, Rachel.
Yep, just to even add to that, and actually, real quick clarification, Rachel actually found the quote. I posted it on my Instagram a long time ago, but it's speak in such a way that others love to listen to you, listen in such a way that others love to speak to you. So, yeah, that definitely makes that quote more powerful with that word. In terms of language barriers, like how body language is a lot, 55% more than half of communication. If you're in a foreign country, you don't speak a single word, you can use like universal body language or universal signs, like just waving at someone to say hello or goodbye. If someone does you like a favor or something, even just putting your hand over your heart, they'll know that you're grateful. So you don't even need to know the words. It's good to know a couple words, but body language more or less is universal. And different cultures and different places have different meanings. Like nodding your head up and down means yes in North America. It actually means no in some parts of Europe. So
Oh.
it'd be interesting to read up. Yeah, Lucas, get ready.
Yeah, I'm not going to nod my head in Europe then.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to read up on where you're going. Next question is from Ariana. What if you're trying to communicate with someone, but it's just not working? Like trying to get on someone's level to speak to them, but they keep rejecting you. And actually, Josh has something similar. Josh asked, what if you're really trying to make eye contact to be present, but the other person is unstable, if you know what I mean, where their eyes are just all over the place? So basically, what if you are struggling to communicate with someone?
Struggling to communicate with someone. Okay, so if someone's not giving you, let's start with the eye contact first. If someone's not giving you their full eye contact and they're avoiding what you're trying to say, or like, not avoiding, but they're not paying attention, you're not giving you that 100% that you're giving them, no matter what, you still give them that 100%. I mean, maybe here or there you can mention to them, like, hey, look back at me, or like, do you mind just like giving me some sort of notice that you're paying attention to me? But I think that essentially you have to be able to give them that 100% so that once they're comfortable enough, and this is where that patience comes in and that time, if you wait long enough or give them enough time to become comfortable with you, and that's what I was talking about, getting on their level, because that's something where you have to make small conversation and show them the little things that allow them to really open up and pay attention to you and give you that 100%. Now, there are a lot of struggles with communication. Like, I mean, some people just don't want to talk. Some people just aren't happy to, or they just don't want to listen or talk. And it's really a challenge. I mean, it's frustrating, especially if you really care about that person and really want to know what's going on in their life, or like you want to help them out. I think everyone thinks that someone they want to help people even though they may not need it. So that's why I'm telling you, or they might not let you know they need it until you establish that level of I'm here, you're here, let's live in the moment and really get to know each other and connect. So the struggle is get to their level before you're able to really open up and have a conversation with them, because naturally they will start giving you that 100% that you're giving them. They'll reciprocate what you're doing, which makes it 10 times more of a conversation.
Nice, man. And actually, Emily had kind of a similar question. All three or four of you guys all asked kind of the same thing. Emily asked, what do you do if the person you're trying to communicate with doesn't want to or isn't reciprocating the amount of respect the other is giving? So all three of those questions were, what if the other person just isn't doing it? But what I have to say about that, just to add, is it's not about what the other person is doing. If when they're speaking, you're fully present, and then when you're talking, you're just engaged, it doesn't matter what the other person's doing. I gave a talk in November at a school with like maybe, I don't know, 20 people, just a small classroom. One of the kids, like, it was awesome, and they were all, like, most of the kids were engaged, but this one kid was just, like, on their little, not even, like, iPad or whatever, laptop or something, just not paying any attention at all, so I thought. And so, like, some of the kids were really making eye contact as I would look around them. This kid wouldn't look up at all. And then at the end of my talk, the kid came up to me, and they were like, wow, that was really cool how you talked about this and this, and they mentioned all kinds of stuff I talked about. I was like, I thought you weren't listening at all. And like different people have different ways of listening. This kid was just like looking down in the zone, maybe even taking notes, I don't know. But like you can't control what the other people you're talking to are doing, you can only control yourself. So give the person that is speaking to you the gift of you listening to them. And then when you talk, whether they're listening or not, it's not really anything you can do.
Yeah. Honestly, everyone give a round of applause to Sergio at your house. That was pretty impressive. That was a great, great answer. I love that, Sergio.
Thanks, man. I think we actually have another question, but it hasn't loaded on my thing yet. I'm refreshing Facebook. We're at like 25 or 6. Simply amazing, Lucas. Oh, Grant said, what up? What up, Grant?
What up, Grant?
So many viewers. Wow, this one went off. We have a ton of comments on here. Rachel said, thank you. A whole bunch of thank yous. Awesome. Does anyone have any final questions for Lucas? Let me see if I make sure I didn't miss any. There's like 5 or 6 comments. Like, Lucas, you have the best smile ever. You should go check these out after. It's pinned at the top of the group.
I'll check it out.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we're good. So if you have any final words of wisdom, you can take it home.
All right, guys. I think my final words of wisdom would be yourselves as much as you can be yourselves, because being anyone else is not the same impact as being yourselves. I think if you're able to communicate with others, you will have that extra step in life that will bring you to the next level. And genuinely, I believe you will be not only happier, but you'll be more effective in what you're trying to convey as messages and different things. I think if you speak more with your heart than your mind, life will show you an amazing, amazing adventure and journey. And all I want you to do is live your life to the fullest by being able to communicate and doing stuff like that. And I am so blessed to have such beautiful, intelligent people listening to me. Sergio, you were wonderful, and seriously, thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Rachel actually dropped some knowledge on us, so we're gonna have to shout her out. She wrote a little paragraph. Rachel, okay. Nice, Lucas. Personally, I've found that oftentimes when people struggle to make eye contact, it's because they don't feel any level of trust or responsiveness with you, aka rapport. So 99% of the time, I just think matching and mirroring their body language, their breath, etc. So if you're looking to influence and share a powerful message with someone who is avoiding eye contact, sometimes it can help to get on their level and make them comfortable by acting like them for a few minutes. Then gradually lead them into making more eye contact and being more open. Rapport is a beautiful thing. And I think we actually had a momentum session on rapport. So if you want to learn more about that, go check that out.
Yeah.
Luke gave you like 7 or 8 thumbs up. And then Ariana said you basically covered everything. There's like no questions left. And she laughed after, which is funny because, yeah, you did a really great job at covering communication. That was awesome. And only in 45 minutes. You could have talked for hours about this, but pretty much covered everything pretty quick. Well, that was awesome.
I really do appreciate it. Actually, it's funny because I talk to Ariana all the time, and I would say she's a big reason why I'm able to communicate and connect with someone. She's a really cool girl. Love you, Ariana.
Awesome. Yeah.
Love you,
Ariana is the best. She's always on these momentum sessions. You're the definition of keeping up the momentum from GYLS. Like, you've done by far the best job of keeping your momentum going.
So much commitment. So much commitment.
So much commitment. So much presence. Rachel said, we love you, Lucas. Excellent work. Thank you for sharing with the fam. Josh said, love you so much, bud. Thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Oh, my goodness.
This is just the beginning. This was just the people live. Like, for all of you people watching, if you've made it to 45 minutes, like the viewers on YouTube, thank you for watching, and hopefully you learned a little something about communication.
Thank you guys so much.
All right. Adios.
Adios.